welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Okay, I'm just going to say it in a way that it makes sense to everyone. Sometimes my state gets on my nerves. That's all I'm going to say about it. I love my state, and I know that we are a welcoming and empowering state, but unfortunately, the State House is not. First, let me share a little bit of information with you. The Marijuana Moment reports Indiana Democratic lawmakers came up with a crafty way to force a House vote on marijuana legalization on Thursday after Republican leadership had blocked the issue from being considered in session after session, though the chamber ultimately rejected the reform. The House took up Senate Bill 20, legislation concerning rules for businesses that sell alcohol and hemp product, on second reading. Part of what the measure would do is create a regulatory distinction for craft hemp products that could be marketed to adults 21 and over. Representative Justin Moed tried to expand the bill with an amendment proposing to strike language defining hemp as cannabis containing no more than 0.3% THC by dry weight, which is also the federal definition of legal hemp. By removing that language, the legislation would have effectively served as a vehicle for marijuana legalization, simply replacing the regulation for the sale of craft hemp, including flower, with cannabis of any THC level. Unfortunately, the amendment failed in a 58-33 vote. Guys, Democrats are trying. Democrats are trying to get you legalization and decriminalization of cannabis. We are trying to be creative and crafty and nuanced, things that the other side obviously is not. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out. But Representative Moed, keep trying. Everyone, keep trying. Eventually, we will not send people to jail for what other folks are making millions of dollars on. I'm just saying, I don't know about you, but being locked up for a joint when I know the person I got the joint from over on the other side of the line is making bank, but I'm locked up. I just need y'all to understand that there's something incredibly wrong. Not to mention, Indiana, we're missing out on revenue. We're missing out on it. There's no other way you can explain why people would drive all the way over to Illinois or up to Michigan or wherever the heck. I know people that have actually literally flown to California. We could just make it legal right here. Now, to be clear, y'all, they are making their way into making this legal. They're setting up the infrastructure right now. How many smoke shops have you seen pop up around Indiana, in your town and in your city? How many smoke shops? When I moved into my condo, there were no smoke shops. There were no smoke shops near me. Now I've got 4 smoke shops within a 3-mile radius. Not even. It's more like a half-mile radius, because 3 miles is a lot in Indianapolis. But in a half-mile radius, I've got 4 smoke shops. Trust, know, and believe. People are putting in the infrastructure to be able to manage legal cannabis. If you thought you were going to break into the industry, I'm going to need you to break into it now. You're going to need to start investing somewhere else, because you're going to be shut out and priced out by the time they really bring it on. I mean, y'all remember the alcohol on Sunday sale? It wasn't that legislators changed their mind. It was the bottlers, distributors, and the convenience stores that changed their minds and wrote the legislation for them. I just need y'all to understand that. Now, as much as I would love to have legal marijuana, what I would really like is for parents to be able to make medical decisions for their kids. That's what I would really like. I would like for parents to make sound, clear medical decisions about the health of their children. But unfortunately, in this backward state, that did not happen. And I'll be honest with y'all, I'm really, really, really furious right now at the lackluster attention that is being paid to marginalized marginalized communities and transgender youth. The Indianapolis Star reports Governor Eric Holcomb has signed Senate Bill 480, the bill banning gender-affirming health care procedures for transgender minors, into law. Almost immediately, the ACLU filed a lawsuit to stop it from being implemented, hence more money being spent out. The bill is the first of several targeting transgender community to hit Holcomb's desk after the Indiana legislature's Republican supermajority approved it in both chambers. It's drawn both intense and local opposition from the LGBTQ plus community, groups like the ACLU, and Democrats, along with support from Republicans and faith-based groups. It says that doctors in Indiana can no longer perform surgeries or prescribe medication like puberty blockers to minors who wish to transition to a gender different from their sex assigned at birth. Children who had been taking hormone therapy prior to June 30th can continue their therapy until December 31st. Otherwise, minors seeking these services could travel to neighboring states where it is still legal, including Illinois, Michigan, and Ohio. So let me ask you this. What are those gender-affirming doctors supposed to do who take care of pediatric kids? What they supposed to do? Anybody know? Anybody know what the doctors are supposed to do? The medical professionals that actually take care of our trans youth? And here's the thing and I wrote about it, and the full article will be in the IBJ this month. And I typically don't talk about what I wrote in the IBJ, but I feel like I need to make sure that I am saying this in a way that those who will be negatively impacted know that I am their teammate and I am on their side. What are we going to do when a child is born intersex? What is intersex, Dana? I don't know what it is. Well, it's when your body, when you are born, has different types of traits, right? You may look like a female on the outside, but you don't have distended testicles. Because you don't have distended testicles. So you look like a female, but you're really a dude because you have testes on the inside producing testosterone. And so they say the doctor looks at you and says, oh my God, it's a girl, smacks you on the behind. You start crying. Everything is good. It's a girl. And the parents go home thinking, oh my goodness, we have a little girl. Or the signs that the child is intersex is apparent. And you can see it. And the parents and the doctors go, look, your child is intersex. Do you want to make a decision? And they say, yes, we will raise them as a girl. Fast forward about 10 years. They start displaying traits that are very masculine. And they start feeling like they are not the person that they said they were, or that that they were assigned at birth. They were assigned female at birth, and then we find out later that they don't have distended testes. And we find out later that they're intersexed. And there's an opportunity for a doctor to prescribe the right type of medication. Hello? The right type of medication for this young person to be who they are on the inside, but different than what they were assigned at birth. Worldwide, we're sitting at about 2% of the whole world population that is intersex. In Indiana, out of the 6 million people, that would be about 120,000 Hoosiers who are intersex, and at some point may require some medical attention as a youth. But this bill did not carve out any exceptions for that. This bill did not carve out any religious exemptions as they often do. And this bill specifically removes parental rights to provide the necessary gender-affirming care to their child. I'm angry about this because Today, I had to listen to Senator Liz Brown talk about joking. Me and my friends were joking about HB 1608. Joking about the health needs and the educational needs of marginalized communities. And Senator Liz Brown is joking about it. Joking. And said this to Senator Yoder. Now, Senator Yoder did check her. But the idea that we are sending people into that state house who don't give a damn about people. And when Micah Clark of that ridiculous right-wing think tank that all they do is write bull crap legislation stands up and says, well, gender, the Bible and science tells us that gender is binary, when science clearly tells us that ain't true. And I ain't read nowhere in the Bible where they said, man, woman, that's it, that's all. I ain't never seen it. I went to Bible study. I know y'all think I'm a heathen, but I went to church as a young child. And then I realized some Christian folks ain't all that Christian, and I didn't want to be bothered no more. And all of these people are saying they know better about what you need for your child than you do. But they don't want to expand Medicaid, Medicare. They don't want to raise the minimum wage. They don't want to do what they need to do to really improve infrastructure and make sure that we have high-speed internet. They don't want to ban AR-15s that are nothing but a weapon of death. But 1608 wants to remove harmful materials from our schools. What is more harmful than a gun? No. We want to, no. In Indiana, we want to teach teachers how to shoot guns and allow them to keep the gun in the classroom because that's not harmful material, right? Guys, I need y'all to understand rallies are good. I like rallies. I love me a good rally because I love to get fired up and give a good speech, right? I love listening to speeches. But you know where you really need to rally? And I'm going to say it again. May 2nd, you need a rally at the polling place. November 7th, you need to rally around the polling place. And then everybody who really believes that we have got to protect the most marginalized among us need to consider running for office and challenging some of these clowns in these districts who don't care about real humans. Intersex humans are real humans. Trans kids are real humans. No, not every trans person is intersex, and not every intersex person is a trans person. But that means, look, add them all up. That means we're at bigger than 2%. That means we're more than 120,000. People will be denied the necessary health care. Y'all should be as pissed off about it as I am. Because if they're going to stop you from treating your children the way you deem to be, they need to be treated, what else will they do? What else are they going to take away from you? That's my rant. Today's show is brought to you by Bohm's Unique Boutique. Click on the QR code. And for all Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com. I love Bohm's Unique Boutique. Thank you so much for being my inaugural sponsor on Turn Left. But listen, guys, check this out. I know that you need digital content. I know you need somebody to come hook you up. I know you need a nice video. I know you need somebody to come fix your computer. I do all those things. Yes, I do. So why don't you scan the QR code and hit me up. Let me know how I can help you. I can provide all kinds of different services. I can build websites. I can do all kinds of stuff. Let me know how I can help you and I promise you, I'm not trying to gouge you. I know some of you down ballot candidates don't have all the resources to do a $2,500, $5,000 video shoot. I got you. I can create some content. You see, I know how to work my little tools. I can create some content for you and let you get your message out at a very, very reasonable price. Hit me up, Black Pro Studios. I would love to chat with you. All right, let's get to our guests. Oh, I'm super excited about this. I had two guests. Where did one of them go?
Oh, I'm right here.
Oh, okay. I thought I lost you. Where'd you go? Hey, guys, welcome to the show. First up, I got two guests from the northern part of Indiana, which I'm really super excited about because y'all know it's Dingus Day weekend, right? Y'all know I'm going to be in South Bend. What? We going to be up in South Ariel Brandy. I'm coming to South Bend to hang out with y'all on Monday. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. But first up, he's an incumbent, and he is running for re-election in the town of Porter. Running in Porter Town Council Ward 2, we have Don Craft. Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Dana. Glad to be here.
Love it. And next up, I got running in South Bend at Common Council District 1, Nick Heyman. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I love it. Now, you know what, guys? This is like the first time in a while that I have two candidates that I have not actually had the chance of meeting and chatting with before. So this organic conversation is going to be so much fun. First off, Don, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
My name is Don Craft. Originally from a western suburb of Chicago called Villa Park, and I've lived here in Porter now for 18 years. I became really politically involved when Bernie Sanders ran for president, and I count myself as a progressive Democrat. And I've been on my town council since I was actually caucused on last July 1st. And I love my little teeny town of Porter up here now by the lake. So,
okay, all right. Let's dive deep, bro. Let's go deeper than that, because see, the whole goal is to get people to fall in love with you. Now that's super cool, and I get you. But what is it about being in Porter that made you want to run for office and serve?
First of all, we have a great little town.
I love it.
We are small, but we're right next to the National Lake Shore. I am a green person, and I love being out in the nature and near the lake. So there's a number of things that we have going on here in our small town, but it's, for me, it is like I kind of equate it to like a small Mayberry or something, where it's a tranquil small town. But I will tell you this. I mean, we do have issues in our town. When I was on the police commission, I got to see some of the other sides of it, and we do have opioid issues in town and other things that our regular people are not necessarily aware of, but are real issues. So.
Okay. And so what has it been like for you being on the council? Talk about something that you're most proud of as serving on council.
One of the best things that we are doing recently is, and I would give the credit to my public works manager, James Pander, but we are bringing in Ford F-150 Lightning trucks, which will be electric trucks. Ooh. And with that, we're also bringing in charging stations to town. Upcoming, we'll be working on redoing the lighting on our main street with more cost efficient and better, more green lights. So they'll be LED, and they'll be replacing the older lights that are using more electricity now. So another thing that I get to do for my town is represent us on the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, and there's a lot of good stuff there happening. Put in a greenway so you could basically bicycle from Illinois through our town and over to Michigan. Great opportunities there as well with the environment.
I love it. So you guys are really big on the infrastructure up there. Do you think the focus on infrastructure is because you want to continue to maintain the quality of life in your town?
It's just an important function of the council to basically take care of the basic infrastructure. And, we have exciting conversations about sewer lift stations and such at town council, but we also get to do some better stuff. Like I said, adding charging stations to our town will help invite more people to be able to stop at our restaurants and charge their car while they're eating at our restaurants, type thing. So.
I love it. I love it. All right, Nick, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Yeah, all right. So my name is Nick Hammond. I was born and raised here in South Bend, here in the 1st District. 1st District's on sort of the northwest side of town. It includes the hospital and all the way up to sort of Michigan, essentially. So when you're talking about all the, talk about marijuana and some of this other laws, imagine living right next to Michigan and having it illegal here 10 miles away. So I was born and raised here. I went to college here at Notre Dame, and then eventually moved out to Chicago for a few years, working, and then slowly kind of got into politics. Like him, I also was a volunteer on the Bernie Sanders campaign, worked for Democratic Socialists there in Chicago, and then just kind of slowly got more involved, and then really decided, got a little disillusioned with national politics. I think things are kind of rigged at the top, and there's not really that much like a person has agency to do. And so I thought, well, I need to go home and help the community that like I was actually born in. And so what I arrived at was actually something that is not just me, but it's the most exciting election in South Bend's, in my lifetime here. We have really, for the first time, we have like this clear, distinct change, our decision between folks who, are wanting to include everybody in sort of the prosperity of the city, and then other folks who are less interested in that and really kind of just wanting to go along with sort of the interest of the people who already have a lot. And so it's been a really fun election, but it's really important that people get out to vote. And so that's what I've been doing here.
I love it. And so was there one thing in particular that got you civically engaged?
Yeah, I mean, I think really a lot of this was, I'd been civically engaged for a while, like in, sort of in a more mainstream way, right? Since the Iraq War, that was when I was in college, right? I was protesting that. But really, what really kind of hit me as I got older, was having people around me who, my wife at the time had type 1 diabetes. And so Medicare for All was a huge thing for me, right? Nobody should have to go bankrupt for needing, basic medical care. And so if you kind of take just that sort of issue, that's a nice way to sort of expand on and say, okay, what else does everybody deserve and need and have a right to? And so a huge thing in South Bend right now is we have a huge affordable housing crisis, especially among the very low income people. And we have a huge amount of homeless people that we've been able to help. And we have this Motels for Now program, but we're staring down this barrel. So one of those things is you have to stand from a principle that everybody deserves a house, everybody deserves fresh food, everybody deserves education, and then go from there. And I think that's something that was kind of foundational to me.
I'm glad you said something like that, because you hit on something that is, I think, fundamentally human, and that is everyone deserves basics. We live in a state, you guys heard me rant, right? I am more than frustrated at the fact that they continue to pass legislation that does not address the needs of people, the majority of people. They're picking on these marginalized communities when we know that the poverty rate is high. We know that hungry kids, that's way too high. And then as Don talked about, the opioid crisis, we have real issues that we aren't writing legislation for, or we are not addressing in a way that is more apropos, I guess is the best way to say it. Guys, I throw out a lot of stuff all the time. I only talked about 2 bills this time. What are you guys seeing? And either one of you could go first. What are you guys seeing coming out of the State House that will impact your communities either positively or negatively, that you are really uneasy with, that you feel like is a little scary? And if you have anything that's positive, right? There's some good bills that came out of the State House, not all bad, but talk about how what's happening in the State House is going to impact you on a local level.
Sure. I mean, I'll start. There's definitely a couple, ones. One of my, I guess my closest campaign managers is, he works for the local DSA, but he's also works for the last local trans rights group here. And they're really concerned about this flood of trans legislation, anti-trans legislation coming down the pike. And so, one of the things that we're, pledging, me and some of the other folks who are trying to get on the city council is to do, is to have this sort of sanctuary bill. So if we can't do anything on the state, we as a city, being a democratic city, need to be strong in our defense. And so that's one huge thing. The other, another thing that people are really worried about, abortion, another major thing. That's been, it's a major, it's always been controversial here in South Bend. It's always been, Michigan's right north. And so if there's a lot of things like that we're talking about, we live in this sort of fundamentally unjust, like 10 miles where if you go, close, you're in Chicago. If you go the other direction, you're in Ohio. You go up there, you're in Michigan. All of them have more progressive, policies than in Indiana. So, which is not fair to just a person who, like you said, is smoking marijuana that somebody is making a lot of money from, and then they're going to prison for. So those types of like equity issues are really important to people here.
I love it. Don?
Yeah, I mean, the two bills that you mentioned earlier with the marijuana, one is our communities that are near the states that have legalized marijuana, we're losing money right now. And also, in a bigger capacity, our state not only is losing those immediate sales, but we're also losing the war to try to like build that infrastructure and build that. There's a huge amount of dollars in the marijuana trade.
Hello?
And also the growing and of marijuana, and the industries being established in Michigan and Illinois, and we will never catch up. We will never catch up to that industry. And then as far as the trans bill goes, I have a nephew who is trans, and I support him very much. And I'll be honest with you, he actually moved out of the state because
Wow.
he basically didn't want to be here, and he felt not wanted here. And
Wow.
I can't blame him.
Yeah.
And there's the attack on the marginalized people has got to stop. There's really no reason to take rights away from marginalized people when we have other bigger problems to solve for our state. The
Absolutely.
other thing that I would bring up would be the issue with charter schools and vouchers. That I hate to say it this way, but there is a basically like a war on public schools from the Republicans so they can privatize the schools.
Yep.
They're not hiding it anymore, and they want to privatize these schools so they can choose what gets taught and who it gets taught to. And it's an extreme agenda that they're pushing.
That's interesting that you said I hadn't actually thought of it from that perspective of what's being taught. I always thought of it as the revenue aspect of it, because once you privatize it, then the parents have to spend the money to send their kids to school. And so somebody's making a profit. You know what? You brought up something really interesting. I just really hadn't thought about being able to control the curriculum in that way, because the dumber we are, then you can keep paying people at $7.25 an hour.
Yeah. And you can continue to perpetuate some of the lies. I go way back in school, and I tell people this story. I'm like, when I was a young school kid, I mean, like General Custer was a hero, and the only black man that ever invented anything was Eli Whitney, and that's what we learned. And both of those are not the truth. And there's other things that we should have been learning better. I was never taught about the perspective of the indigenous Americans.
Mm-mm.
And
me neither.
There are so many great black inventors and so many great black people that we never spoke of, and we should have been speaking about them.
It's interesting because, like, I offer grace to anyone who seeks knowledge, right? Because I recognize I got the same education that my white brothers and sisters got. I didn't go to a school that was more majority black. I went to a school that was majority white. And I was as ignorant as everybody else when I got out, because I didn't know who these great black people were either. And then I became pissed because I'm like, why didn't you teach me about who I was? I'm sitting in a whole classroom. You could have taught me that I come from kings and queens, but you decided to start with slavery, right? But go ahead, Nick. I know you wanted to jump in there on that.
No, I mean, the school thing is, I can't believe I even forgot it, because that is really probably the number one thing people are concerned about here. We've had this like years long like proposals over which schools are closing, and people are up at arms. And the one they chose is going to be in my district, and so, but it's this selling the property, selling the properties for $1. They're creating new. Linda Rogers, I believe, is creating a new rule where there's going to be new capacity levels. That if it doesn't reach 60% capacity level, that you can then sell it for $1 or buy it for $1. So they're just squeezing harder and harder on it.
Yeah, they did, to follow up on that, because I had been watching that bill because I hate that freaking dollar law. They recognized that the dollar law didn't work. Right. And they literally I'm glad you brought it up, because that was something else I should be talking about. But they
did just read that, and forgive me, but I forgot exactly. They did, like, they modified it in some sense, right?
Yeah, because they needed to. Because, okay, you're saying that you have to. First of all, let's be clear that they were targeting, Black and brown communities. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the Black and brown communities bought these buildings and they're paying taxes on these buildings, but now we're going to make them sell it. But when they tried to do that in Hamilton County said, no, you're not finna take our building for $1. And they went to the courts and did the whole nine. But it's not right. It's not right to take assets from a corporation and sell it it's not eminent domain. It's not a betterment for the vast majority of the citizens in the area. It's to make it a charter school. And go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you go ahead. You the guest. They hear me talk all the time.
Yeah, no. So I was going to say, and the absurdity is, okay, so you're closing the school because there's not enough students enrollment. And so why are you putting another school there? You obviously don't have enough students to go there. So it's obviously like a sabotage.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with the whole total, teacher shortage, support staff shortage, and not really wanting to address the real issue behind that. I mean, literally, they were talking about a bill to criminalize teachers and librarians for harmful material. We are turning teachers and librarians into felons. Why would you want to go in that industry in Indiana?
I mean, yeah.
I can answer that. My daughter is an elementary teacher. She's a special ed teacher, and she looked for jobs in Indiana and Michigan, and she works in Michigan because they were paying more. They had better job opportunities there, and I can't blame my daughter for that.
No, and I can't. I mean, you got to self-care. You got to do what you got to do for yourself. But who suffers? Our Indiana children. But if you keep this society uneducated, that means you don't have to worry about giving them the real money that they deserve. And we can keep them at a minimum wage. We can become a warehouse state. We can become a state where, we don't have to really value the life of the humans. And unfortunately, because we also are not educating people, they don't know, they're not nuanced enough to look at things from a nuanced perspective. So when I say make America great again, so that sounds great, boy. So now you got people not understanding what any of this means. Indiana's own Dana Black turned left. Today, I am so stoked to be up north. I'm in northern Indiana talking to Councilman of Portertown Council, Don Kraft, and candidate for South Bend Common Council District 1, Nick Heyman. This is where I go ahead and give my sponsor a shout out. Today's show is brought to you by Bohm's Unique Boutique. Click on the QR code. And for all Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com. All right, Indiana's own. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty. Don, we're going to start with you because you've been on council and you know what the heck's going on in Porter County. Talk about the issues once you were reelected that you want to tackle first.
Oh man. I tell people this. I mean, there's a lot of small issues here in town, and my big thing is not necessarily a single issue, but my issue is to make everything a little bit better for everybody, but also make it a little bit greener. I'm huge on the green part of my cat, but little stuff, if we can, first of all, a fiscal responsibility for just the basic needs of the town. I mean, the most recent one was that we need a new sewer lift station, which is not an exciting piece of legislation by any means, but it's something
exciting to me.
But to be fiscally responsible, and we're honestly we're having to put the project off a year because we can't get a decent bid. And like I mentioned, just stuff like being able to put in new lighting that will give us a better lit downtown area and be cheaper to run. Little things like that matter for a long term. So I wish there was more exciting stuff here in the small town of Porter.
Well, see, now I think it's exciting because the bottom line is this: all politics is local, right? We talk about it more every day. We recognize. I want people to understand. That's why I love doing this show, because council folks are responsible for your municipal money and how it's being spent and distributed. And the fact that you're excited that we invested, right? We invested in the infrastructure of my little town of Porter. Then maybe somebody else be like, I'll be like Don Kraft when I grow up. You know what I'm saying? So don't make it seem like it's a little thing. It's something that's gonna make your town and your city just shine. What else you got?
Our other thing that we have going in is we on our beachfront we have a dilapidated inn that is old. It's nearly 100 years old, and that is going to have new construction there.
Okay.
They're actually going to take the inn that's basically falling down, and that will be being raised. And I'm excited to see that project going, because that will provide a opportunity for some jobs here in town, and also to make our beachfront much more amenable to people to come visit us. We're right next to the National Lake Shore. Which is a national park and actually one of the most visited parks in the United States. It's and our police and our fire department help support the park department over there. So it's exciting to be able to spend some quality time up on Lake Michigan for us.
Oh yeah, I like it up there. I was in Michigan City late last year. I plan on getting up there again. It's just a lot of good stuff up in northern Indiana. That's why I have a hard time with people treating my state like a trash can. Nick, what you got? What issues you want to work on once you're elected?
Yeah, and I want to concur that Portage is beautiful. I mean, I've been there a lot, just going, kind of that part of town, visited up on that shore. But B, I also want to say, I always, when I'm out on the campaign trail, I always have these kind of fancy things I'm talking about, but really what people want to talk about is like something much simpler, like the street there, the pothole there. So all politics is very small, and it's kind of level. But sort of the major theme that has been going on in South Bend is that we've actually seen over the past, I'd say decade or so, we've seen some good growth in the city, but it's been really kind of like selected growth in certain areas and among certain classes. And so one of the things that we're really working on is that whether it comes to investment or amenities or parks, is to make sure that we're investing strategically in the parts of towns that have been disinvested in. And those are mostly in like African American, minority.
No,
and then sort of,
you're kidding, right?
Surprise, right? Right. So that's part of northwest side, south west side, southeast side. There's these parts that have just been disinvested in. So we're in the midst. It had been introduced this spring, but there's a reparations bill that is being tabled for now. But we hope to pass if we get elected. That will look like sort of strategic investments in those neighborhoods and making sure that we're evening out some of that business. So that's one major kind of issue.
I like that. That actually speaks directly to a lot of things, because if people can have affordable housing is the issue with everyone that I have spoken to this season. The lack of real affordable housing, and affordable housing is different for the different price points, right? And so when we're talking about affordable housing, we also need to talk about livable housing. That's the other thing. Like, you may be able to afford it, but should you live there? And So talk about that from a councilman's perspective on how we do better. And if you guys, either one of you, we're still on you, Nick, but I want you guys to talk about TIFs, because they had a huge debate in the State House about TIFs today.
Oh yeah, TIFs are a huge thing. We're overusing TIFs for one thing. That we're not letting them expire, and they're not like being like strategic about it. We have like 7 TIFs, I believe, in this one city, and so what you're doing is you're just robbing from the general fund, and that's how this inequality is sort of mounted a little to a certain extent. Is we've just seen money funneled from different areas, different tax revenue funneled into these, like lots of it into this one area, and you've seen that grow up and explode, and then private investment jumps on, but then there's this whole other area gets just completely gets completely ignored. And the affordable housing thing is a really, like what you just said, that point there is really important, because for me, I lived in Chicago, I lived in places that have expensive rent, and so for me, I'm paying rent, and $1,200, like that's expensive for me, but like to me, I was like, well, that's less than I was, right? But not a lot of people can afford that in this town, and so what we've done a good job of, are relying on like private investment. We've been able to have these abatements that will guarantee that a certain amount of these houses are affordable. These units are affordable housing, but the measure that they're using that on is 80% of the median income. Mm-hmm. Well, we have a very unequal district, and so the median income in one census tract is only 20,000. So we're not even hitting it anywhere close to
20,000.
Yeah. Yep. In the census tract right next to mine, there's 20,000. That's the average.
The median.
Income. Yeah. So
okay, I don't know what you can do with 20,000.
Exactly. And so here's another thing. What happened on parts of like the worst side, when you're talking about these sort of homes in disrepair, there's lots of bad landlords that come from out of town. They snatch up these homes and they just leave them in disrepair. And so we have, and then in addition, we have a lot of older homeowners who just can't afford to repair. And so we've seen that we've had to demolish 1,000 homes in 1,000 days. It was a very famous thing a decade ago. And so now we have empty fields there. Well, my district is slightly better off than that, but it's next, right? We're sort of on that edge. We're the ones who lost 2 more grocery stores, and we're losing that school. So we're kind of on that ground. We have a lot of housing a ton of housing that's really good, but it's falling in disrepair. So we need to do a better job funneling grants to make sure that we're allowing homeowners to repair. And so that's something that we're going to work on too. Sorry, that was too long of an answer.
No. And actually, you guys, you're bringing up something that I hadn't really contemplated or thought about. I mean, grants for homeowners. Mm-hmm. We say we want home ownership. We say that we want to provide people with the means to be homeowners, but we don't budget in the cost of maintenance. Nicole and I talk about that every now and then, where we're talking about, we built these great infrastructure, highways and all of that, but we didn't budget any money in for maintenance. Mm-hmm. And so we spend all these billions of dollars, but then we can't take care of it. Is it possible for you guys on the council to create an ordinance that says, hey, we're going to offer up some grant money either in Porter or in South Bend?
We can't do it. The mayor has to do it. We can only approve it or not approve it, but we can help craft we could help craft an ordinance, but they would have to approve it in the budget. The mayor would have to introduce it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And our budget is actually kind of tight, and the next thing we're looking to expand for increasing our budget is actually to add some firefighters to our town, because we have a volunteer fire department, and there's only the chief actually gets paid, and we would like to have him have a couple assistants. So that's kind of like where our budget increase is headed. But also, to get back on affordable housing, one of the issues that we had here in our town is there's an area that was close to the South Shore train tracks that go to Chicago, that we had a developer who wanted to develop the area into apartments, but the local people around that area protested mightily. Wow. And got the project nixed. And it's
not in my backyard.
Unfortunately, there's Oh yeah, and unfortunately, there's a big chunk of land right there that's sitting there with nothing on it and no tax revenue for the town, because that project fell through. So
Wow. So
we're
you
trying
guys
to.
are literally missing out on opportunity to A, house people who could afford it, and B, generate revenue, all because some like people are like, no, I don't want those folks living next to me. That is,
Yeah.
humanity. That's not the soapbox I want to get on right now. I'm sorry. This ain't about me. Okay. But it's just, I mean, guys, I got to tell you, I feel like, I know I spend a lot of time talking about things that are happening here in Indiana. I don't spend a lot of time talking about what's happening around the nation because I think these 92 counties are so important that we ought to focus in on them. But what I'm seeing is a lack of humanity and concern and just genuine, I love my neighbor and as long as they look like me kind of mess. Or they live like me or love like me or pray like me. How do we, as leaders, because, you're running for office, Nick, Don, you are an elected official, and I'm just a resident loudmouth. How do we go about the process of reestablishing that we care about people because we are leaders. That's why we want to lead, is because we care about you. How do we go about reestablishing that, especially as Democrats?
Well, I think we really have to kind of just take the argument out into the streets. And also I would go. That also goes with building our party. Our party statewide needs help, and if we're not willing to go out and talk to people about our beliefs and what it means to be a Democrat and being the party of we and the party that helps out your neighbor, I mean, that's part of that argument. Then hopefully we can change some minds. I mean, the apartment buildings that I was talking about would have actually been nice apartments. They wouldn't, they would have been apartments that would not necessarily be the affordable housing, but people still don't want them.
Wow.
And it's a sad situation. It is. And honestly, I mean, growing up in Illinois and coming here, uh, my community that I grew up in Illinois was not a very diverse community, but I never encountered some of the prejudice that I have seen here in Indiana, that makes me sad to see that.
And it sounds like you're incredibly uncomfortable with it because couldn't say the word. Like you can tell when people are uncomfortable with the situation because it bothers them physically. Nick, jump in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, unfortunately, we have such cultural fissures. We have just such torn culture. And we live in two sort of parallel universes. We have two media bubbles. We have talk with two different groups of people, and we just miss. So the fear of others is just completely exaggerated. And so there's the way around that is through physical interaction with people. And I really believe one of the things that we've suffered over the last since especially COVID, but if we go back to 10, 15 years, is if I went door to door in 2004, there was a ton more people who would just readily open their door and talk to you and say, hey, now people are a little bit more reticent. They're a little bit more scared. They're fearful of just other people in general. It really just takes being vulnerable and being just really open and really demanding more of people to say, hey, no, we do need more of you. We need more of each other. It's a kind of it's a harder thing to do, in practice. It's easy to say that than to do it to have the result. But that's kind of how I see it. It's really just an active engagement all the time.
I love it. I love it. Indiana's own Dana Black. Hey, guys, if you like what these wonderful candidates from up north are talking about, click on their donate links. Yes, I have included their donate links. Please donate $5, $10, whatever you can to help these candidates win their elections. They got to not pay canvassers, but got to at least buy them some water, right? Or they got to get some pizza for their volunteers. They got to get yard signs. They got to get mailings out. So please, if you have a few dollars, click on their donate link and donate to the candidates. If you like them both, give them all your money. Give them all your money. That's all I'm saying. Indiana's own Dana Black. So, infrastructure is big. You guys have talked about it. You talked about street lighting and affordable housing. But what are some things that people are telling you as you're out on the trail and knocking on doors that it's not pretty, it's not sexy, you're not getting a lot of attention? What are some things that folks are telling you about? I'll let you go first this time, Nick.
Yeah. So one thing is, sidewalks, parks, like that kind of thing. Sidewalks to the basic sort of like park amenities, so that a child can feel like you can send your child out and then can walk down the street and go to the store or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really kind of a major thing infrastructure wise. It's just dirtier. There hasn't been much improvement to any of the infrastructure besides maybe a little road infrastructure. And so people are kind of living in ugly places, not places where you would really want your kids to be playing. A lot of broken glass and in empty lots and things like that. So, I mean, that's something that people want to see changed.
See, you're going to make me sing a Grandmaster Flash song. Broken glass everywhere. People. Don, what are people talking about?
You know what? One of the things that it's kind of almost funny to me, but it's not funny, is a lot of people who I've been talking to when I've been canvassing have been talking to me about people speeding through town. You know, again, it's a small town feel. So, if somebody's going, 40 and a 25, that's a big issue. And it actually, on one side, actually kind of makes me happy, because that means we're doing a good job as a town if that's the biggest issue that people are coming to me with.
You better claim it, honey. We're doing good. This is the issue.
We're doing good. We are, We've taken care of all the big issues, and they're just worried about it, people speeding a little bit too quick through town. So,
well, that says a lot about your being an elected official, your leadership on the council. That people aren't really complaining. That means you're doing your job. And I think that it speaks volumes. Obviously I don't endorse in the primary, but yeah, you're looking pretty good to me.
Thank you. So,
all right, guys. I know I ask a lot of questions, and you all know that I'm stuck in the State House, and I want to make sure that people understand the importance of municipal elections and how they impact their lives. And I don't always ask all the questions so that you can get your message out. Nick, tell us what you want us to know about you and your campaign so that we can galvanize around you and support you and help you.
Yeah, great. Very good question. So, what my campaign is about is really restoring sort of the, basic democratic principles to city government. South Bend can have a really great future. We have a lot of great things about South Bend, but to do that, we need a city council that, is really connected to the community, and it has their priorities in mind, and not just a rubber stamp for the mayor and the rest of the council. So, I'm running May 2nd is primary day. There's already early voting now. It's going to be a really important election because, there's a really big difference between our futures based on what you choose. So please come out and vote for me. Thank you.
I love it. Don, what do you want folks to know about you? Other than I'm kind of quietly falling in love with you and Sarah, who keeps texting a little notes about how wonderful you are.
Well, you can thank you, Sarah. And actually, I know that you've actually met her one time, but my biggest thing here is I want the people who I talk to in my town to know I work for them. I represent them. I'm going to take care of their needs. I don't put a lot of I's in my statement because, it's being on town council isn't about me. It's about making sure the town is good, the town is successful, and the town's taken care of. I love my town. I fell in love with it over the 18 years I've lived here, and it's a great town to live in. And I want to keep it at that level. I want to keep it great, really. I don't want to say the other. I don't want to make it great again because it already is. But,
it's a shame how somebody could take four little words and make us never want to say them again. We don't want to wear red hats. But you know what? He in trouble now. Oh, 30. I read somewhere someone say 34 is now my new number, my new favorite number. We're not talking about that cloud, but all right, guys. Nick, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me at nickforsouthbend.com. Also on Facebook and Twitter, Nick Hammond.
And do you have any events coming up that we should know about? Any
I have a fundraiser at here on April 12th coming up at McCormick's Bar. That's downtown South Bend.
All right, make sure you send that to me so I can at least elevate that for you so you can get some folks out there to donate to you. And and go ahead and give us your parting shot.
Yeah, so, May 2nd, we have a chance to really make history in South Bend. We have a young group of progressives that are running to, run for everybody in South Bend and really have South Bend have a better future than they've had ever. And so I really, it's important that the community knows we need you coming out on election day and before, and tell everybody that you know to do the same thing.
I love it. Don, he's got a great pitch. So you tell us where we can find you, Don.
Hey, I'm on Facebook, either Don Kraft for Town Reporter or just Don Kraft. Check out both sites. I post on both. And then if they actually want to find me live this Saturday, I'm going to be over at the Georgia's Euro supporting the Boys and Girls Club because they're having a pancake breakfast this Saturday.
I see. Look, he didn't even say for himself. He talking about the Boys and Girls Club. Do you have any fundraisers coming up or any other events?
I've had my fundraiser and I enjoyed seeing everybody there. And if I have another one in the fall, I will invite everybody again. So.
Okay, because see, I might mess around and come crash a little fundraiser in the fall. You know what I'm saying? I'm known to get in my truck and drive somewhere. Indiana's own Dana Black. Hey, guys, as every week I get the pleasure of introducing you all to so many different candidates around the state. These are wonderful, wonderful folks. I hope that you guys took something away from this conversation today, because the best part about this conversation, as Democrats, we really are aligned. It doesn't matter what our demographics are. Here's literally 3 different demographics. We have different generations going on here, but we're all speaking the same language. We are on the same team. We are Democrats looking out for people. Stop with the circular firing squad. I'm going to say it out loud. And because in the State House, they are fighting every day to hurt the LGBTQ plus community, Indiana Stonewall Democrats is having a fundraiser Saturday, June 17th, 2023. Mark your calendar. It'll be around 5 to 7 or 6 to 8. We're not quite sure of the time yet, but if you put it on your calendar, just block off June 17th. It's a Saturday, June 17th from 4 to 9. Just block it off, right? Because we are bringing you a leader who, A, has been the mayor of the 4th largest city in the nation, the first out LGBTQ plus woman to hold that office, and is now the president and CEO of Victory Institute and Victory Fund, Mayor Anise Parker. I need y'all to understand, Indiana Stonewall Democrats are sick and tired of being sick and tired of having folks write legislation about us, ignoring us, and not talking to us. But we're going to bring you some firepower, so please consider coming to our fundraiser. The links will be out soon. Mark your calendar. And as always, all of the money that we raise at Stonewall go toward LGBTQ plus candidates that we endorse and our allies. We need to change the makeup of that State House. So we're making, raising money for that. We're bringing you quality speakers. And you guys remember Andrea Jenkins last year and how great she was. You remember Malcolm Kenyatta, Representative Malcolm Kenyatta, and all the great guests that we try to bring in. I got to tell y'all, Rosemary Ketchum is down in Bloomington right now. But we brought her here. Indiana Stonewall Democrats, please consider coming to our fundraiser. And if you can't, please consider donating to Stonewall, because, again, our community is under attack by people who are writing legislation and writing policies. And we're not in the room. Poor J.D. Ford. I have to call and check on my man, my senator, because he's being abused. Can you imagine? I I know I sit and listen to it, but listening to people you work with disparage you openly and publicly, that's what Senator J.D. Ford has to do. So let's send him some help, all right? Indiana's own Dana Black. Guys, I thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Oh, my gosh. I'm excited to get to meet you and to know you. I do believe you all will be very, very successful in your campaign. Well, Don's already teaching us how to win, right, Nick?
Right.
Indiana's own Dana Black. I will holler at y'all next week. Peace.
Thanks so much.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.